Welcome to Spoiler Talk, Jax, where we talk spoilers. How are you today?
I'm great, Keiran. How are you?
Very, very good. What are we spoiling today?
Today, we are spoiling Squid Game.
Yes, the South Korean Netflix drama, high concept drama, thriller.
Yeah.
I don't know. What genre is it? Now that I think.
It's it's game show gone crazy and wrong.
The survival genre. Anyway, you have 2 minutes. Can you tell me and our lovely audience what you thought of Squid Game?
Squid Game is beautiful. It is crazy, powerful, horrifying, scary, thrilling, funny at times. It's kind of got everything going on. Netflix were like, this is our biggest show ever! And I'm like, calm down, Netflix. You've hyped yourselves up too much. And then I started watching it, and I'm like, oh my god, it's everything I wanted and more. This is so good. I thought it was really captivating. Few elements throughout the series, I was kind of like, maybe this and that. But overall, especially when it got up to episode 6, I'm like, wow, this is really one of Netflix's best shows. And then the last 3 episodes play, and there are 2 moments or 2 kind of things that happened in the last few episodes. And I was like, whoa. Does this fucking suck? I think there's an element introduced that on paper is incredible and visually was incredible, but the writing and dialogue was so disgusting, it literally made me go, this is like watching one show in one season, have George R. R. Martin writing, and then go straight to D&D. The acting was bad, the writing was bad, and then there's a final twist towards the end of the show that would make M. Night Shyamalan proud, and not in the fucking good way. That's not a compliment. I thought there was a moment at the end that I hated so much. I think it fundamentally ruined some of the most strong emotional arcs in the series. It made me livid, and I don't even know how to re-look and revisit this show because I don't know how I feel. I did not like the end of this. I did not like the whole third act of this show. But this show is worth watching. It's brilliant. It's gorgeous. The acting's incredible. There's so much to love. But my god, did one aspect, and maybe 2 aspects, just infuriate me, and I don't understand why they want to do it. But it's good.
Oh. You had 10 seconds left, but pretty good. You got it all out. Do you feel
better? Give me 45 minutes to take a breath. I don't know. I think I feel worse. All right. You got 2-minute opening statement. Here we go.
Squid Game is really good. A high concept survival drama with stakes that are established very firmly and very strongly from the outset. All of my investment is rooted in character. The plot or, the story, I think, kind of unfolds in a manner that keeps you really engaged and is unexpected at many points. I'm still trying to kind of piece together what I think about the ending because it wasn't really an ending in a lot of ways. And I guess if I had a big criticism of this show, it's not even really a fair criticism. It's just more to say that when I saw the trailer for this looked like, a writer-director bringing their vision to life. And I think with television, sometimes that vision escapes people after a certain amount of time, and maybe there's a little bit of longing in, my personal opinion, for this to just have been a one and done and have everything wrapped up and all of the story and plot threads kind of come together and exist. But instead, when we finish the first season, I'm left thinking more, I was the fool for not realizing that this is the most repeatable premise show that you could come up with, and that this could potentially go for 20 seasons, which I'm totally not interested in at all. So I really enjoyed most of this, but I don't really know if I'm looking forward to season 2, and I don't know how to feel about that. Let's talk spoilers.
Amazing. All right, awesome. That was perfect. That was 2 minutes. Right on point. You had 3 seconds to spare, and I want to get.
It's not. I didn't even give an opinion as much as just confusion, I guess.
No. I think you kind of more clearly and kind of articulated what I kind of just went about with just the ending, and I don't want to get too I kind of do. I want to talk the ending first. No. Oh God, I hope not. I'm kind of hoping this is Dark Season 3, the opposite, where I tell you why I think the finale is atrocious, and you go, oh, Jax. No. This is why the finale is good, because I think your issue and what I vibed off from your opening is that it's the stinger at the end, where he essentially looks at the camera and goes, I'm going to hunt down all the Squid Games and all the realms, and I'm going to stop them, because I am the hero. And I'm like, yeah, cue Eye of the Tiger or whatever and have him go off and do that. That sounds atrocious. I love the idea of it. If I knew this was going to be a one and done season, I think that's a really cool and interesting and fun, like, oh, imagine like what could happen there. Yeah. And like the idea that he's left, like the whole setup of this show has this really, really great, strong opening. The first 20 minutes is just him being the worst shit kind of dad who's just fallen into debt. He's fallen into debt. He's gambling away money. He's lost his complete control of his addiction, but he loves his daughter. And the idea that at the end of this show, he's got all this humanity, but he's about to go see his daughter in the US, but he's like, actually, no, what I did in the Squid Game was way too fucked up. I can't let that slide. So I'm going to have to sacrifice my fatherly love for my daughter. I'm going to have to sacrifice that. Maybe she's going to not understand because I can't explain it properly, but I've got to hunt down these Squid Gamers and I've got to stop them Squid Gaming, which is, I think, in theory, as an end of a show that's never going to have a second season, is awesome. I think that's really cool. As an end of a show that I know is now Netflix's most popular show, they say ever, which means they're getting a season 2 at some point. I loathe it. I absolutely don't want to see that. The idea of that makes me so angry, but it's not even one of the things that I found so angry. Kieran, I didn't explain it in the opening because I didn't want to spoil it.
Yeah.
What did you think about the fact that throughout the whole show, the most emotional character stuff and the character study and all the best stuff is the main character and the old man, and there's an amazing twist on it and this fucked up resolution in episode 6 with the marbles game, and it's so good. It's so emotional, it's so heartbreaking, and then at the end they go, twist, that heartbreaking emotional old man is actually just a rich fucking snob piece of shit cunt who's just like, oh, I'm rich and bored, oh, the only difference between rich people and poor people are that we're all the same, money's nothing, money can't buy happiness. Shut up, you're like one of the richest people ever, and you're gonna go and create a fucking Saw children's game fuck shit and just watch all these people die
so that's what you
for your own amusement?
Like?
I hated it so much, Kieran. I hated it so much.
Why?
I couldn't believe it. When it happened, I felt like this sickness like drop into my heart. Like I actually just went, no. You cannot possibly mean that the reason we didn't see the old man get shot isn't because why would you want to shoot the old man on screen? Because that's disgusting and awful. And I loved that they were able to, you just follow the main character's face as he hears the gunshot. And I'm like, yeah, because I don't want to see that old man get shot. That's disgusting. Don't show me that. That's horrific. And then it's like, no, actually, you're an idiot for not thinking that I really, really disliked it. I think the episode 6 in the marble game, when the team up of the tug of war, you're like, okay, we've all got to team up. So they all go, we're going to team up. And the main character is like, I'm going to go with the old man because I feel bad for him. I don't want him to die by not getting a partner. And then to have the twist that one of them's all going to die and we have all the main characters all paired up.
But it's a double twist because he's just playing him the whole time and seeing how far he can push him. And it recontextualizes that entire exchange. And for me, I found that quite gratifying when I was thinking back on it. I thought, oh my God, this fucked old man just fucking tortured this guy. Like, and it was due, I think, mainly to the fact that just by nature of the competition and him wanting to sustain the illusion of it, of the fact that he wasn't the architect, that he knew he'd just been kind of backed into a corner, I suppose.
Because I don't know, I just found the idea that the old man, he's like playing the game and he's like, I'm winning the marbles. He keeps opening his hands and they're just huge bets. And I'm like, oh my God, dude, that's crazy. This guy's like, I just love the idea that he's so close to dying. He's got a tumor in his brain. He's kind of got everything to lose. Like, people are like, oh, if you look at the first game and the way he's grinning, he's just running through the red light, green light game because he knows he can't die. And I'm like, oh, I just didn't read it like that. I love the fact that he's like, being in... I don't know, I love the idea that this old man is enjoying this game because he's so close to death, but not because he's a rich old snob that's getting off on all these people dying and wants to be a part of it, but he's cheating, so he's not actually being a part of it. He's just being super obnoxious and evil and disgusting.
Honestly,
so
Jax, honestly, the difference between you and I here is just that the thing that attracted me to this show is not the thing that attracted you to this show. I was more caught up in just the high concept, the kid games, and watching them get played out, and then getting kind of further invested in some characters. And to be quite honest with you, less invested in other characters that I did find a little bit one note and boring, and like I'd seen it before. And maybe on a rewatch, I could see myself not liking the old man twist as much, but I guess I just wasn't having as much enjoyment as you were with the old man character. I thought there were some interesting things going on, and I thought the marble sequence was a real standout. And then just to have it revealed that it was this other weird game, potentially, do they explicitly say it in the show? But, maybe there was no dementia at all. There was, you know what I mean? He's just...
Oh, yeah, no, I kind of took it that he's completely playing with him the entire time. Because I don't think it makes sense for him to have any kind of issues. Cause,
why is one interesting and the other not interesting?
Because to me, I found it so completely fucked and so scary and so heartbreaking that our main character, who's had flaws, the show starts off and he's like putting he lives with his mum, he's putting his mum's credit card in, and he's like, God damn it, my mum changed my password. Like, how am I supposed to steal money off her? And that character is then going to go and be like, I'm going to do the honorable thing. I'm going to team up with this old man. And then... during that game, when he realizes he's about to lose, he goes, I'm going to trick the old man using his dementia, which is one of the most disturbing and horrific things a main character can do. And I'm going to twist and turn, and I'm going to win this game because I'm so desperate to win. I found that... honestly, I don't think I'd be so annoyed by the twist if the Marbles episode hadn't worked so effectively on me. And I was...
But it still means that same thing. It doesn't not mean that anymore. He still did that as a character in that situation.
Now, Kieran, I'm not like, oh, you shouldn't do that to the old man. I'm like, fuck that old man. He's a piece of shit. He's just Jigsaw.
But
just an evil man.
Like, that you were invested in fundamentally still did it. I did like that little, what it said about the mother's relationship with her son, the fact that she'd changed the birthday to the granddaughter. It was almost like she's taking care of this boy her whole life. He's now a 40, 50-year-old man. And finally, she's realized that he's just a piece of garbage. And it's like, you know what? I'll invest in the granddaughter now. She's the most important thing to me because this guy's not going anywhere.
Just one last thing on the finale and the final acts. I think the idea that once he leaves the game, it's like 1 year later and he hasn't touched the money. He's just like, I'm going to be a gambler. I'm going to ask for money. I'm going to beg for money. I'm just going to live in the slums and just kind of, not use any of that money. I found all of that super compelling. I found the way, I honestly think if you just take out that old man reveal, I loved all of the stuff. I just found his motivation, I just didn't want a motivation. I didn't want him to just be like, I made the Squid Game because I'm rich and bored. I just found that so frustrating. Do you know what you really
wanted?
Difficult.
You wanted to see an old man be tortured and die. That's what you really wanted.
No, it's what the show had done to me, and I was heartbroken. I was disgusted that I was still invested in this guy. And then I think that plays into the fact that how desperate are people going to be? And I think that comes into one of the best parts is in episode 2, they're like, we're going to have a vote. And I'm like, well, I know how this vote's going to go. It's a really interesting, compelling idea. But then they all go home. And I'm like, oh my God, Amazing. This is subverting all the expectations. And then we get all this more backstory that works really well. It adds so many more layers. We get introduced to the cop who's like, I'm an undercover cop. I'm going to, infiltrate the organization. And it really worked to show how desperate these people are wanting to get into this game to help their lives, not just to get out of debt, but to shape the lives around them. I'm not going to be able to, at the end when the friend who's the villain of the show in the end, he kills himself because he's like, I'm hoping the main guy is going to help my family out. One of us may as well get the money rather than, quitting at this point. So there's so much stuff I love, but just that old man. Sorry, what were you saying?
I don't know. I just don't. Yeah, I don't think it's worth getting so tilted over. But I mean, you can't control.
I can't help it. It really irked me. I couldn't believe how much it irked me. Like I just was like, I felt deflated. Like I was so.
I thought, someone in this competition is going to be the ringleader of some kind, or a spy, or something. Like that's the first thing you do. So, and I had a feeling it would be someone in the core group that they establish.
Right.
But I mean, that you just always see that coming in these like type of situations. So it's not like an original, astounding, creative decision on his part. I don't think it's like the strongest part of the show. I'm not trying to radically defend it or anything. I just, I guess for me, it didn't undermine anything else. Like all of that other stuff still stood, and now I get more. And now I get another scene with this guy who I've really liked watching the whole show. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, that's fair. I think that maybe I had been getting so excited by it, and then another element kind of really put me off kilter. I'm like, is this even good anymore? And then that final twist really hit me. So I'm going to mention the last thing I'm going to say negative, and then we can kind of deep dive into the show itself. What did you think about the VIPs? We've got a game, and they're like, the VIPs are coming. The VIPs are coming. And at this point, this show could do wrong. This show can do no wrong. And I was so excited to see what the VIPs are. And then they rock up. It's all these rich people. They're in suits. They've got golden animal masks to hide their faces. And I am like, ecstatic. I'm just like, this is so cool. This is so amazing. And then the writing and the acting from the VIPs, I thought was some of the worst things I've ever seen in a good show ever. I thought it was so bad, and I thought it really undermined the fifth game, which really frustrated me. What did you think about them?
I completely agree. I think,
okay, thank God.
But I don't think anyone particularly liked them. I think that in hindsight, with the popularity of the show and more so the international popularity of the show, it would have been really cool to have gotten some international cast in there and, get a famous British person, a famous American, a famous Korean, and, you just put a bunch of people like that in there. So there's lots of little tidbits for the international audience they're trying to appeal to.
Yeah, or just some actors, people who could act.
Yeah,
that would have
or
been
just
so nice.
literally anyone. Yeah, get Matt Damon. He always wants to do cameos. How good would it have been if
I would have died of happiness if Matt Damon had been the perverted guy in the VIPs. God, that would have been so cool. That would have been
so much better, and he absolutely would have done it.
Yeah, I don't know. I also don't even know if it's the actor's fault because the dialogue is so bad. They're like joking about picking number 69 and just the characterization of them was so over the top and crazy that I'm like, I'm now watching a different movie. I'm watching a campy, silly, dumb horror film that kind of feels more in line of like I don't know, like it reminded me more of just like trashy horror and not a thrilling drama that happens to be very violent and horrible. There's the one bit that really made no sense to me. It's like the big fat slobby guy like sees the cop undercover and he's like, ooh, you have sexy eyes. And I'm like, dude, you've come here to pay to see these guys compete in the Squid Games and you're going to go off and have sex? Go have sex in 20 minutes when the game's over. Like, what is happening? Like, it just felt so bizarre and I just didn't believe any of it and it completely threw me out of the world.
Yeah, it was are they like investors or backers or they have some financial stake in this game? Like it looks pretty expensive, so like what was the purpose of them being there? Is that it? It's like
I think that it's just the same as the old man. They're just rich and bored and they're like, we got to get our kicks. We've got to bet on horses, but our horses are humans. Oh.
Yeah. But I mean, that's what I thought. But it just seems it was handled in the worst manner that it could have been. Really, it's like a bunch of like dumb gay jokes, kind of, and then just like an uncomfortable scene. It adds nothing to the show. It really actually just slows down what is otherwise an incredibly thrilling sequence.
So bizarre and interesting.
And I love the Bohemian Grove aesthetic, the creepy, powerful elites in masks. I think there was just more opportunity to, like, there's a big Korean actor who is revealed late in the show to be the guy under the black mask the whole time. And I was like, yeah. And then, I was talking to my partner Jessica about the show, and she was like, that guy definitely wasn't there the whole time. Like, he's too he's too big, he's too successful for that.
He's that big. That's awesome.
And I'm like, I'm like, well, I think it depends on the actor, because there are situations where an enormous actor will make a decision like that to be there on set and be a part of it, and then some actors won't. I don't actually think it's big or not big. I think it's more like, how far is the performer willing to go? Like, look at Michael Fassbender in that role, where he's in that big mask the entire movie. What's it called? Frank? Have you seen that?
I'm sorry, I have no idea what you're talking about. Yeah, no, I don't know.
There's a movie that came out post Michael Fassbender becoming an international A-list actor, where he's in a mask the entire movie. A big, dumb mask.
Oh my God, I gotta watch this.
And it's actually Michael Fassbender under it. And, he wanted to do it. He was invested in the character. He liked the script. He wanted to perform this character. And this character happened to wear a mask the entire runtime of the film. So, it would be interesting to know whether they... because they did get such a big actor, whether it was him there the whole time or not. I think the show, why it is globally appealing, why it's amazing, it's high concept as fuck. It's children's games with a deadly twist and an enormous reward. It's like the simplest, kind of broadest, easiest concept to grasp. And even if you don't know the games, because they're all mostly Korean, cultural kind of games that kids play, and we have some and don't have others, they're immediately kind of identifiable. And some of them we just have and call it different things, or... But I think not just the fact that it's got this great concept, that it's just this like pure, simple kind of idea, that it also does get lots of time to really explore the ramifications of the idea. I like when you plop something absurd and ridiculous into what is otherwise a universe that is just our own, and it's just filled with normal people with problems. And then the ramifications of it ripple out into the world. And we get a little noir detective story about a guy finding his brother that's kind of running parallel. And, there's also a subplot about a cheating doctor who is harvesting organs with other workers in the competition. And I'm like, this is how you explore this concept, because there's all these just wasted dead bodies here. I mean, is that doctor a good guy in a weird way? He's not, because they're selling him to the black market. But in a way...
At one point they're like, it was actually a girl. We all fucked her. You don't believe me? It's not your brother. We fucked her. And it's like, oh my God. You really want to make us hate these guys for some reason. That was so disgusting.
Did the doctor say that? Or was that the...
No, one of the doctor didn't, but all the pink staff guys that are corrupt or whatever. One of them just has a super gross line before he gets shot and thrown in the water. But I agree. I think it's a really interesting... I think that aspect of it was really strong and really surprising.
I just think every opportunity they get to kind of flesh it out and answer questions that they know the audience is asking. Like, how is this game existing in this world? How is no one finding out about it? Well, someone does. Someone starts investigating. And then that's a part of the, they've just, I think on a lot of levels, they've kind of thought through a lot of it. And even up to the point where they vote out of the game. I mean, realistically, I think a majority of people, if they were confronted with that, would opt out.
Well, it's half-half, and then they go, and then all the ones that go, no, this is too real, they get back and go, no, I made the wrong decision, I'll go back. And he just lets them go back. That's probably the one aspect of the old man being behind it, is he's the actual one to make that final decision, because it's a 100-100 split. And he's like, all right, you guys essentially picked to not continue, but you'll be back. And he's so confident that they'll all come back that he says no. And that's probably the only aspect where I'm like, oh, that's really fucking cool. I love the idea that they all come back. It's absolutely horrifying. Just something I want to piggyback off you saying with the children's game. I think that probably the strongest element of the show is just that perverted take on being like children's games. Like, it just kept making me go like, are they going to play like hopscotch or something? Like, are they going to play like, I don't know, just there were so many games that came to my mind where like, can you imagine playing this in the schoolyard? And they're like, oh, you guys lost and now you die. And it's such a simple and intense premise. And I do think they really kind of, the peak of it, I think, is when they do the marbles game, because so many of them get to pick, like, they get to choose what kind of marbles game. You see how many different marbles games, like one of them's playing a certain marbles game and he's losing, and then he's like, we got to change the game up, you know? Which I found really interesting.
And the marble game, I think, comes at a point when we're just edging towards the point in the show where all our favourite people have survived a bit too long. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, the plot armor needs to get smashed off them. Yeah,
sure. It does. It's just getting to that point, and then they go marble episode, and then, all right, we've just culled half the people, and it's kind of beautifully done too. It almost feels like, all right, once we get up to this episode, I think people will start waning, so let's really mix it up. And a great decision. It reinvigorated. I remember being reinvigorated at that moment watching the show and being like, no, this show has legs. Like, it's really, really delivering on all fronts. It's like spectacle, performance, a lot of the writing, to be honest. I just, obviously, just what they were going for with those like Bohemian Grove, weird VIPs. Dudes, the VIPs, just whatever the director told them to go for, it was just like they all went for the same thing, and it wasn't good. And
honestly, it's pretty much just like that one episode of Stranger Things where the whole internet went, oh, we love Stranger Things. That one episode with all those other Stranger Things guys, don't do that again. And then season 3, they're like, we're not doing that. Don't even worry. That's our bad. We shouldn't have stepped out of our bounds. Sorry.
And it also
kind of feels like that.
It also begs the question, you know, like, sometimes something being good is just because it's being said by someone who's really good at saying it. If that makes did that make sense?
100%. If that was Matt Damon,
I try to say something really profound, and then I get silence, and I'm like, did I just fuck that?
No. That was no. That was spectacular, because all I thought then was, I hated the dialogue. I hated the 69, 96 gags and oh, look, it's a bridge. Oh, what's this? What's a Squid Game? Please explain I saw the cold open at the show. Who is these guys talking? But if that was Matt Damon, George Clooney, Brad Pitt, and like Emma Stone or some shit, I would have died inside from happiness. You know, like if they had real big actors, I don't know, I think, they don't have to be big actors, but just people performing and acting the shit out of it and just understood what they were going to do. But enough of that.
I even think if they were big actors, even doing the bad performances that these guys were doing, it would have worked. You know what I mean?
You know what? Almost definitely, for sure, yeah.
It's almost just bad because they're nobody. Like, there's no significance, and you've built up such significance. Yeah? So there's no significance in the writing, there's no significance in the performance, there's no even significance in who you cast. It's just, you're not giving us anything, so why are you making us watch it? It's a question I often ask myself when I'm in the middle of a maybe 2 episodes long Netflix show, and I start questioning. But then I remember that TV used to be like 25 episodes, and I go, shut up, Kieran. It's the golden age of content.
So, something that I really want to discuss as well, because I got to stop thinking about the VLPs, otherwise I was going to smash my mic and scream around I'm going to scream too much. The thing that I found really, really interesting, and really, it worked really well for me up until the end, where I'm not 100% sure how I felt about it, the actual games and how they place them. So we have 456 contestants. First game, you've all got to play that game where the person stands at the front, they turn around, and if they turn around and see you move, you die. And they cull 200 people. It sets the precedent of how violent and horrible it's going to be. everyone completely abandons the rules of the game because they go, oh my god, someone died, and they don't think, I guess I'll stop moving. Hundreds of them just start screaming and running, piling up on each other. It's like the Battle of the Bastards. There's just piles of bodies everywhere. It's absolutely horrific.
And honestly, kind of fair enough, yeah. Because they really just got no forewarning. And a lot more people would have lived had they just been maybe prodded a little bit more to the fact that this was going to be... You don't even have to say it's life and death, but you can allude to it in a manner that at least they know the game is still going. Because it's like you go there to play a game and then people start dropping dead. Yeah, you like run, don't you? You don't think the game is still going.
You don't go, so I'm in some kind of Saw children's game and it's all crazy. You're like, oh, there's a sniper or something, yeah.
The only people who get to figure it out are the people who wait till the next round. Because the game starts over again and they realize they're in a game. But everyone who didn't make it to that point, you know, they were just in panic mode, in flight mode, trying to get out of there.
Yeah, the first game is a cruel trick because he's like, okay, so I'll get all these gamblers who are desperate for money and I'll let them play this little slapping game where they just got to throw a piece of paper on the ground and make it flip up. And I'll trick them all into thinking the game's fun by they don't have to pay up. They get slapped in the face by... Who'd you say? What's he from? Another amazing
I was going to talk about that. Would you stop going on tangents? We're trying to talk about singular things here.
Sorry.
We're talking about the game.
Okay.
No.
All right. I'm
not going to enforce what we talk about. I'm just joking. But yeah, no, he's the guy from Train to Busan. And I think he got on a train to Busan at the end.
Oh my god.
No, I don't think he did.
Oh my god.
Just a terrible joke. But it's
potentially... No, the universes are connected. I demand...
It can't be a mistake that he has like 2 scenes in the show and they're both in train stations, right?
And he ends both of them by getting on trains and waving creepily.
Yeah, like that's definitely not... Like, I don't think they like wrote it with the intention for him maybe, but maybe they like, when they're like, who do we cast? They're like, we have to get the guy from Train to Busan. Like, you know, we have to ask Bill to do
awesome.
It. I don't know.
Yeah.
But he did a great job. He was like, he had a great presence. And I don't know. He really, there you go. There's like casting someone in a very small role. It's enigmatic and we don't find out a lot. But the performance kind of props it up and makes it something a bit more interesting. And it is very well written too. I do like how it kind of plays out, how he teases them into it and he kind of wears them down and then he rewards them. And he literally, in a micro transaction of sorts, gives them the entire roller coaster that gambling gives you in real life. Pain, suffering, and then a little bit of cash at the end. Like, that's what all these people's lives are, essentially. So it's cruel and unfortunate that's how you get woven in, but makes perfect sense because that's how you get a gambling addict in. You put a game in front of them and reward them a bit, and that's how every game. That's how every gambling game is done. It's the promise of some reward that's out there. When you go buy a lottery ticket, or when you go play the pokies, that big number on the top of the machine spinning there in front of you, and the chances of you getting that are almost zero because the money's there to make money. The machine is there to make money. The roulette table's there to make money. The house always wins. This is a fundamental truth of gambling.
But the best thing they do to kind of motivate the people with that, just like, remember, that money is just like that moment where they're like, just to remind you why you might not want to leave this horrific game of death. And the giant see-through piggy bank just falls down from the ceiling and just hangs above them, and just the millions and millions of dollars in hard cash is just sitting there above them like a giant horrifying money disco ball kind of thing.
45 billion Korean won. It's
which I'm pretty sure I googled it. It's like, I could be wrong, I think it was like 56 million Australian or something like that. It's crazy amount. Like, it's awesome. It's such an amazing visual. That whole area where they live throughout, and how when everyone slowly gets kind of siphoned out through the games. It gets less and less. I found that whole visual is so good.
You mean the room where all of the games are printed on the wall in front of them?
Are they there the whole time, or only when the last 3 tower beds are there?
I'm not too sure. Because it's a detail I found out after I watched the show. I didn't notice it while watching.
So when the 3 beds are there, there's a big wide, and I'm like, oh, these sick bastards! They've got all the games.
I reckon it was probably there from the get-go. Yeah.
Oh my god, that's even more perverse. I love it. Oh. Alright, so I tangented from the games. So first game, big bang, sets the precedent, and then the second game is this really small, intimate one where we find out the big character trait that's going to kind of carry over is that his friend that said he was off studying, or maybe he was, and he's the big smart best friend from childhood, is actually going to be the villain of the show. And it's not going to be the macho, it's not going to be the macho, tough, crime guy. It's going to be this guy, the glasses best friend guy, and he's immediately shows to be just an absolute piece of shit because he's like, goes to tell the main character, don't do the umbrella, because this game's fucked if you pick the umbrella. And then he's like, you know what? I'll let him deal with that. And the montage of him realizing that he can lick the honeycomb sugar, and then everyone starts watching and they're all just licking. I just thought that was spectacular TV. At that point, I was like, I'm right into this. I love how the first and second games as well, it's like you survive by winning. But you're not actually like strangling anybody, or you're not, doing anything. And then we get to the third game and they're like team ups. And the team up aspect sets you up for expectations that get broken in the fourth marble game. But in this third game, no one of significance dies, but I wasn't kind of bummed out by that at this point because this was the one that made them kill other people.
Yeah.
Like, you survive not just by surviving and getting to the finish line first, but you get there by fucking killing 10 other people in a tug of war. And I just found that, I don't know, I just thought the escalation of how the games worked, and then the fifth one kind of builds off all of that, and then we get to the final one, which is just like, oh, it's kind of a game, but maybe it's just a knife fight and it's raining. They're like, is it a game or is it just a knife fight?
Yeah, little anticlimactic, right?
I didn't it annoyed me.
Yeah, when we go, the show's called Squid Game. We open with Squid Game as them as kids. I just thought that there would be a little bit more to it. To be perfectly honest, I thought there would be at least a set, because they kind of just used the first set again, almost.
Yeah, and that works for the moment where he's like, remember when we were back here in game one and all 454 other people had died, and now it's just you and me, best friend from childhood. And I'm like, symbolism or whatever. Something better?
Yeah, a new set. Just a new set.
Yeah, no, that cold open, sorry, not to I'll talk about it for 2 seconds. That cold open when the show starts and it's like, it's black and white, it's a cold open, the show's called Squid Game, we're seeing kids play Squid Game, and I'm just like, oh my god, everything I love about a show is having a cold open at the start. It reminded me of Better Call Saul where it's like black and white cold open, but it just made me go like, is this symbolism? Is this the main character, as a kid? Is this going to be what the show's about? Like, you don't know much. And then when the game starts, I'm like, okay, the last game is going to be Squid Game. So I expected that 4 or 5 of the main characters would survive, or maybe 6, I guess. And it would be 3-on-3 Squid Game. And, it would play out in a certain way. To have them both be there at the end is fitting in kind of almost a biblical sense where it's like 2 best friends from childhood. They haven't seen each other for years. They've come back together, both the gamblers and, all these things. They've got to fight in the rain and they've got knives. And I'm like, I understand what they're going for, but yeah, I think not having the last game be a game and just be like, oh, there's no rules in Squid Game, so it can just be a knife fight, is kind of like, I don't know. I don't know. I wonder if they could have had the last game, then had their, have a few other people drop off, and then have the knife fight.
That's what we spent all this time and money getting to? Like, is this it? I don't know.
Well, I don't know. I don't think the old man thought through that much. He just wants to see people, kill each other
I
for
think
money.
I think all that old man has done is think through how much he wants to fuck with people. Like, as evidenced by everything in the show.
No, true.
Yeah, it just doesn't. I can't defend it, and I don't like it, to be perfectly honest. And maybe the emotional scenes work, and the performances are good, and yada 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 yada. All of that stuff is true, and they do kind of, like you said, I do like that. He's like, no, don't waste this prize. I'll just kill myself.
Yeah, thank God. Like, oh my God, if they had just given up at that point, I would have been so furious. I don't buy the main character doing that either. I don't buy that at all.
I don't. Yeah, and I really don't like when creators or writers ask us to really like fundamentally go against character in such a strong way. Like, it's too much. It's too much too quick. He's lost too much to get here to just throw it away for nothing at all. Like, there's no, it doesn't work. It doesn't work at all for me.
And it's not just throwing it away. It's throwing it away because he's like, oh, this best friend who we didn't get scenes of them being best friends before the show. It's like, oh, best friends that I kind of just shit talk. I'm like, oh, that guy's a prick. He never calls me. And he's talking to his mum at the fish market. And he doesn't know that this guy absolutely dogged the Pakistani guy. We don't know, like, he doesn't know that we know, like, we know that as the audience, but he doesn't know that. But he does know that this guy just murdered that chick, the third last contestant. He just straight up murders her, and he's so like, I'm out to get you, I'm going to kill you. And then he goes, oh, no, now we're absolutely at the finale point. I've changed my mind. I'm like a step away from getting that money and doing... I don't have to spend it myself. I could spend it on I could give it to everyone. But to be like, actually, I'm not going to kill you. I'm not going to let them kill you or whatever. It's like, I absolutely didn't buy it.
No.
So much parts of the finale I didn't like.
Yeah, I just wanted him to lose at that point. I'm like, I hope the other guy wins, because you're an idiot and you made the wrong decision no matter what you did. And then you finally got here, and after all the horrible shit you did, you finally got what you wanted, and then you don't want it. But then it keeps going. And then maybe I kind of like it more, because they're, again, sometimes things are bad ideas, but then you can explore them a little bit. And he returns to the normal world, and he's kept this character trait. I guess, you know, it's like Anakin Skywalker turning into Darth Vader. It doesn't really, like, the moment for me doesn't quite work, because they didn't quite do enough to just get us over the line. And a lot of people feel that way about that movie. But Darth Vader's still there, and that's still cool. Like, like, everyone agrees.
Yeah.
It's still...
No, for sure, yeah.
Yeah, there's still a Darth Vader for me to look at. And, so, I mean, there's something interesting at the end of it, him being in the world with all the money, with red hair, which is an interesting choice. And
there must be some kind of symbolism there or some shit, right?
It's the symbolism of why people color their hair. It's a transformation. It's growth. Or maybe it's wanting to push back against culture, because, you know, it's kind of counterculture to color your hair. Yeah. It's maybe evidence of him wanting to push back against this show has a lot of themes that are rooted in capitalism and the free market kind of churning people up in the machine, in a sense, and the idea that, you know, just this, like, we eat each other all at the expense of each other to build kind of imaginary things so that we can get money is kind of the ludicrous delusion that we all buy into now collectively. I mean, we don't like to confront this fact, but, you know, like, a corporation is just an idea. It doesn't exist. It's just a name. And there might be a building, but they probably don't even own that building. They're just renting it. It's just a group of people that go to the building every day and do a thing. And then they all go home. And then it doesn't exist while they're all at home. You know, the company is just a group of people, is essentially what I'm taking a very long time to say here. And I think that this show really wants to delve into the idea of us just kind of clambering over each other for just to feed, I suppose, the system. And the idea that he doesn't want to take the money at the end, I suppose, is his way of pushing back and being like, no, I don't need you. And I don't need your money to take you down. And that's what I'm going to do. And I think that's ultimately what they're trying to say with his character at the end. And that, I guess, is kind of an interesting idea, but also completely impossible. Like, what are you going to do? Unless, what, now are you justified to go and spend that money? To go after the evil thing that gave you all the money so that you could go after them? It's I don't know.
I feel like 10 seconds ago, I'm like, that's awesome. I wish I'd seen that show. And then you kind of got a bit confused at the end. I'm like, that's the show I ended up watching at the end. But I'm like, I feel a bit confused about this all at the end.
Well, it has something to say about these things, but I'm not sure I know what it's saying in totality. And it's definitely anti these systems, these, the systems that we hold valuable to our society. But I don't know what he's trying. I mean, he made also this character so incredibly unlikable from the outset that, and then the moment of growth or change doesn't quite work. So I'm just kind of left with this, I don't know, this character that's just all over the place. And a lot about the show works, and I was invested and I loved watching it, and I'll probably revisit it and get a lot more out of it. And there is a lot here. But it's just, I don't know. Did he need 11 years to make it, maybe, instead of 10?
That final year to, just get that second, sort of 12th draft or whatever it is, Yeah, I don't know. I have to mostly agree. I think this show does so much right. But I don't even think it does it right. I think it does it expertly. I think so much of the show is so, intense and amazing to look at. I think the color palette, just them walking through, there's the infinite staircases, and it's all kids' colors, bright fluoro, big colors. It feels like a kid's drawn it on crayons. It's very fluoro and bright and just beautiful to look at. The imagery of the not criminals, what do you call them? The contestants. And they're all in green. And then we've got the staff all in pink with black masks and childish, emotionless circles and triangles and stuff. Honestly, it's iconic. As soon as I saw it, I'm like, this is iconic. The first episode fucking blew me away. Check out my other podcast, Two Brothers, One Pilot, where I gush and I don't say anything negative because I hadn't seen the finale yet. But it's I think the visual elements of this show are so spectacular that I think it just set me up to be, I could not have been satisfied. And then there are a few elements that I really disliked that kind of just irked me so hard the other way. But overall, this show is really strong. It's really strong in so many aspects. It's a delight to watch.
I wasn't even not satisfied when I finished watching it. I was just more, I like to just maybe get wrapped up in my own thoughts a bit after I watch something and think about it and I don't know, you just go about my day and then hope that kind of things come to me about what I've just seen and I can put things together. But for this one, I really got to say, it's a week since I watched it maybe. And nothing's really come to me. And everything that's come to me is more of it's more a nagging sense of but why this and why that? And what are these decisions? And this is a case where I think the show is deserving of the recognition it's got because it's doing so much right.
Yeah.
But it's messy. It's definitely messy in parts, and it's almost all just the writing and then a little bit of performance stuff, I guess. Because some of the side characters I don't think really worked for me. And there's
which ones didn't work?
Yeah,
you've got to bring some negativity to this, please. I beg of thee.
There's some non-conventional casting. The Pakistani guy I really like. But I kind of found the really aggressive, crazy girl that gets with the criminal guy.
Yeah, those two, yeah.
yeah, I kind of found both of those two kind of just abrasive and annoying at a point, and not in the way I suppose that they're intended to be. It's like they're obviously foils for our heroes, but it was just a little bit more like, well, these guys are going to be like the second or third boss because the final boss will be them against them, and I'm just like I can't be invested. I need you to do something like if you're going to do these characters. And they're a little bit kind of broad and they don't get super fleshed out, I don't think.
No, not really.
Like he gets a couple of scenes where, he's just doing criminal stuff and he betrays people and he's, like every other fucking person in this competition, a piece of shit. Well, not everyone is. There are some good people, I'm sure. But I don't know. It's getting away from me. The Pakistani guy is really great. I think the lead as a performer is really, really great. I think everything he's tasked with, he delivers, even though maybe the writing's not working. The old man is great. I think regardless of whether that works on a writing level, just both sequences, where he's in the competition and then afterwards, I think he's really firing on all cylinders, he's giving it his all, and he's doing a great job, and then just fun little ones. But I don't know, is there anyone else that really stands out to you performance wise, or any characters that you really liked? Or
I don't think any of the other characters really kind of just went bam, like spoke out to me. A scene and a moment that spoke out to me in terms of the writing and the placement of it and making me go, oh my God, I didn't even realize I gave a shit about these characters, is the two chicks and they just sit down on the marbles. They're like, let's not play marbles. One of us is going to die. Let's just sit and chat for half an hour. And I found that every time we cut to other people, they're playing the game, they're doing this, the aggressive guy's losing, he's trying to figure out how to do it. The friend is trying to figure out how to cheat the Pakistani guy. The main character, the old man, have got their whole thing going on. And then we have these two girls and they're just sitting there and she's like, you can just say anything to me. Like, one of us is going to die. There's no shame. Like, what do you want to say? And I just found that so, I don't know, it just was such a perfect moment to kind of counterbalance every other scene. I found that a standout. I didn't find those characters very overly they didn't feel like they were big standouts where I'm like, oh, I love their performances, I love this and that. But that sequence in that episode, I thought was so good. And then at the end, when she's like, we'll throw a marble against the wall, and one of them piffs it against the wall, and then the chick, who we've barely been introduced to, just before she does it, I'm like, oh, fuck, she's just going to drop the marble and be like, oopsie daisy. And then she just does it, and it was just so heartbreaking. And then the other chick's screaming at her, and then she's like, I've got nothing to live for. I've heard you say your piece and you've got things. If one of us has to leave this game, it should be you over me. And I was like, God damn, that's some good writing. I don't know, I found that incredibly powerful. Overall, this whole show, I found the first episode a brilliant start. Everything else pretty good. And episode 6, the marbles game, really got me. I found they really worked the best character stuff for everyone right there.
So this is a bit of a Bly Manor then. I think Bly Manor, another Netflix show, really, really peaks in the middle. Right in the middle, there's an amazing episode that is slowly established over the course of the season. And I think continues a little bit after, but really kind of hits its peak at that moment.
The bald woman's episode?
Yes.
Yeah! Oh, it's such a good episode of TV.
Because
that is exactly what the marbles is.
Because there's not even a close second best episode.
Not even a little bit. This is the Bly Manor. Netflix knows how to do it. They'll have a really great start. Be like, oh, I'm into it. Everything's pretty good. Then just a huge standout episode. And Bly Manor had a second last episode, or maybe it was the last episode. One of those episodes towards the end really didn't work for me. And it kind of bummed me out in the whole season. Just like this show did, which is... oh my God, they're repeating themselves. But I think my expectations get so heightened if I actually get uber invested. If I'm just this is the best Netflix show ever, I'm just setting myself up for disappointment. I get too into it and then I get too let down because I don't know. I can't sit in the middle. I can't just be like, yeah, it was fun. I was good. If I'm too in, anything that I dislike will just kind of hurt me too strongly. So the old man thing. Maybe it's not that big a deal, but man, not for me.
I don't think it's a bigger deal than a lot of this show's other issues. I think that's, yeah. I think that the show has other issues too. Like, you're like, there's two big things. And I'm right with you. Maybe the worst thing in the show are those guys in that room, the VIPs.
The VIPs, yeah.
Easily.
Yeah. Especially because... Sorry, you go, sorry.
No, go.
Oh, so I was just going to say, especially because the hype, like, there's so much, like, the VIPs are coming. Get ready for the VIPs. Like, for, like, an episode before, he just, the foreman, or whatever they, like, people get online to call him the foreman. I don't know why I said that. I think he's, like, the game show host with the black mask, where he's like, the VIPs are coming. Get everything ready. And I'm just like, oh, my God.
The brother.
Oh, my God. Have we not talked about this yet?
Only briefly. We touched on the fact that there was a detective investigating because his brother got wrapped up in it. He was in a game in 2015 that we find out at a point in the episode when he's going through some Squid Game documents. And this this arrangement has been going on a little while by the looks of it. They've gone through a few people.
So having...
Yeah.
Oh, I was just going to say, having the fact that the show had been going on, like the Squid Games had been going on for multiple years, fixed the only issue I think I had in the first like 5 or 6 epis, is that like there's a moment where like the pink soldiers or the pink staff people are all like, you know, we'll put the thing here, we'll put the thing down, it'll go down a chute, we'll push it through this thing. And I'm just like, how the fuck did these guys build this? How have they not been found out? I feel like this would have taken years to like figure out how to do this. And they're like, yeah, well, maybe they've had 20 years to do it because this game's been going on for decades or, you know, a very, very long time at least. So I thought that was really nice to be like, this has actually been going on for a really long time. What did you think about the twist of Mr. Black Mask's character?
Kind of the scene that played right after it was a bit goofy, wasn't it? Like, does he shoot him off a cliff or something? Am I remembering that right?
You're remembering it perfectly. There's a great scene where we get kind of this visual kind of like shock where he's just outside on the island running about. It looks really different. We don't have the pastel childhood colors. They're all locked in like a play school soundstage kind of vibe. He's just out in the bush. He's running about. It's all tense. All the pink staff all look a bit silly and weird outside in the, you know, the bright light and stuff. And then he's on a cliff edge and then he's like, who are you? Who are you? Where's my brother? And then he takes his mask off dramatically and he's like, I am your brother. And he's like, oh! And then he shoots him off a cliff. It fucking sucked.
What that reminded me of, sometimes I will walk into my living room and I will see my partner Jessica watching a Korean drama. And there's a lot of Korean dramas. And there's a lot of really bad Korean dramas. And there's a lot of scenes that are just like that in those bad Korean dramas that play out just like that have the like lots of slow-mo. And the show was so good for a moment. I almost thought that they were doing it, you know, in jest, almost like as a nod to the funny, bad, like over the top bad Korean drama thing that exists that people like in a soap opera sense is what I'm talking about.
No, I totally get that. Yeah. I don't think this was in jest.
No, definitely not, because there needed to be something at the end to be like, this was a joke. But there's nothing.
He needed to fall off the cliff and then Cruella it with like a parachute of like, you know.
yeah, of Squid Game suits.
Oh, you know? He lands in the water and he's got like a giant squid submarine or something. He's like, get it, Squid Games or whatever.
There's a big squid.
Get it, squids, yeah. Oh, yeah, no, I think it really... And it did set up for well, he's not the big bad, so who's the big bad? And I was like, I don't care who the big bad is. I didn't think... At the first episode, I'm like, oh, I am interested to see what this guy's like, who's behind the mask? But as the season progressed, I'm like, who cares who's behind the mask? He's just that shitty game show host that you just get on. Like, I don't care the backstory of the guy who does The Price is Right. Like, he's just the guy who's like, hey, we're doing a game show. Like, ba. And he's just got an amazing visual mask that makes you think you're interested. But who cares? Who cares who's behind that?
But, you know what is interesting, Jax? That this man won the competition and that his brother came looking for him. Would have been great if there were some fucking scenes about that, yeah? Like,
dude, there should have been a whole flashback epi about those two, for sure.
Yeah, and then we should have got some time with them. And then when he kills him, I feel something. Yeah?
Yeah. Oh, actually, oh my god, I don't even know why I forgot this. Probably because in the finale, so much happened that just broke my soul. But when that happened, I remember being like, oh, so I guess this is what the finale is going to be about. Because we end one of the last episodes on that thing, and there's so little content left, because I didn't expect us to spend so much time out of the game at the end, which most of that was pretty good. But it's like, I thought that would have been really interesting to be like, okay, so we're going to have maybe a black and white flashback again where we see him playing the games and him come to that realization. But to me, it really comes down to like the old man is like, oh, I'm just an evil old man. Haha, I'm Jigsaw. And just like in Saw, he's got to have minions that played the game and then are like, actually, you're right. I had to go through Saw to appreciate my life. Now I'll be Jigsaw too. And this just felt like the same where I'm like, but you didn't even explain it in any way. I don't know. It just feels odd. I don't know. And I guess we'll find out in season 2, but fuck that shit. I don't want to watch that.
No, I hate that. I hate that I'm saying that about this show. Like, I would have really liked to. And maybe it's unfair because, you know, like I signed up for a TV show and sometimes TV shows go on for a long time.
Yeah, but so many good shows. Like, I don't know, we'll just mention it because I mentioned it just before, but Blind Manor, like if that ended and I went, okay, I guess I'll wait for season 2. Whereas I didn't like the end with a lot of aspects, but I loved its one and done feeling, you know?
Yeah, well, that's actually why I watched both those shows, because I knew that they were going to be over and that there was an anthology. Yeah.
And I don't know, maybe it's just Mike Flanagan's the only TV director that's like, I do one and dones, baby, that's what I'm about. One and dones, I'm in and I'm out. And I'm just like, yes, it's just a 10-hour movie, but I get the pacing and I get the character study. Like, this is like, you know, it has aspects that remind me of like a Hunger Games or something, but it has the time to flesh out. We have that time in between games where they sit there and they ponder the fact that they've just tug-of-warred people to death or whatever. I don't know, it's like, this show definitely lends itself to be a show, but not like a show, a one-and-done show.
Yeah, this entire show would have greatly benefited by just no prospect of another season. Because they might have gone even bigger because it was just a one-and-done. And they wouldn't have things like detective trying to find his brother that doesn't pay anything off in this entire season.
Or they would have paid it off fully. They would have exactly,
at the end. Otherwise, it wouldn't be there because if it's not paying something off, it can't be in the show because we're making one season of the show. So get your shit together. You don't get to tease every They just spent so much time getting us invested in the detective character, and then to just like
shoot him.
I don't know. It just it did so much hard work, and it's legitimately interesting.
Oh, it's some of the best stuff. It's really, really good stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
And it's such a counterpoint to the show because it's like every main character's like, I'm in this game, I'm a gambler, and I gotta get this money for my family or whatever, or for me or whatever. And this one guy's like, where's my brother? What happened to my brother? What the fuck is going on? It's like it's such a different element to the show, and without it, and when the show starts in the pilot, it's the only element that's not in the pilot. And in the pilot, I'm like, I'm invested, I'm set up, I know all the balls that will be spinning in this show. And then in episode 2, it's like, what about this? I'm like, ho ho ho! Yes, baby! I love this extra element. Like, it's exciting and interesting. And that character and the actor is really good, but it ends like a lot of the things does, where it's just like,
Yeah, it's a show that never goes off the rails, but it's a rickety ride at times, I guess. It's, yeah. For me, it never did. It never veered off to the point where I was like, what? It's just now, in retrospect, thinking back on it, there's a lot of questions that I wish were answered and that I don't really want to have to watch another 10 hours of television to get answered because I'm not that interested. Yeah. And there's enough worrying stuff here that maybe I won't watch season 2. Maybe I'll just kind of hear what people think and... who knows? It's interesting. I really had a great time watching it. And I think just the conceit and the concept of the show is magnificent, and it's thoroughly explored in a lot of really interesting ways with, for the most part, pretty interesting characters. Some of those characters don't get enough time to shine, but get, like you said, moments. But again, you know, that moment would have been so much stronger if we knew a little bit more. And
Probably.
yeah. I mean, but that you can say that about anything. You know, you can say anything about anything. That's all the show is.
Oh my god.
I don't know. Do you have any other big points?
I have one final thing, and we don't have to mention or discuss or anything, but all of these games feel like children's games. What the fuck is the fifth game? Maybe I just missed a line because I was so angry at the VIPs. But what fucking children's game is them jumping on glass and maybe if the glass breaks, they fall to their death? Like, what the hell? What game is that? What the hell is that? Kieran, what is that? What the hell?
That's such a good point that I can't believe in that entire extended sequence. We haven't even mentioned that. That's like, it's such a big...
honestly,
it's so well done, but you're right. It doesn't... It's
really well done. It's a great moment for all the characters, but to me it was just like, all right, all these characters are at the end that have to survive, so they'll survive, and I understood what was going to happen, and the only bit that was good was the big tough guy's like, yeah, you go ahead and boo. And then she's like, grabs him and she's like, you're a fucking idiot, and then she just tumbles off with him, and I'm like, how did he not see that coming? But this is like poetic justice at its most over the top, but it worked for me because I was also like, you get these guys out of the way. And then we get a giant slow-mo pyrotechnics explosion of glass, and then they all get hit in the cheek with glass, and then she's like, I've also been killed with this glass. Which seems unfair as well. It's like, but she won that game, and then you kill her at the end of the game? It's like, wasn't the whole thing the doctor died because he was breaking the rules and it's all about being fair and even? I don't know. I'm overthinking it at this point. I'm being nitpicky, but I'm just like, they should have healed her and been like, I don't know, whatever. I can't be too angry at too much at the end.
Although,
I think the VIPs
to be fair to the writing there, they do say that I think there's a timer that runs out, and then when that runs out, that's it. But it just doesn't make any sense that it's there. That's not a children's game.
No, it works for the scene in the moment, and it's like a really good. I don't know. It's kind of like they were gonna do like the monkey bars. It only works following. Where they all go monkey. Sorry, go.
It only works following the tug of war. Like the other games don't look like this game. Is it following the tug of war? Am I remembering that wrong?
No, so it's tug of war, marbles, and then this again. So we've got big high stakes, then we go to the marbles, which is more intimate.
That's what I'm saying. That's exactly what I'm saying. So it only kind of works because if you take the tug of war out, the tug of war works. The tug of war is tug of war. Everyone knows tug of war. Yeah. But if you take that out, then you've got 3 games that are in the same setting. And then you've got this game in a completely different setting that doesn't have anything to do with the children's game, really. That's just like a completely new thing. And then the last one back out. So, like, that environment's very reminiscent of the tug of war game, is what I'm saying. So
sorry. I see what you're saying. Because it's all up on big, stilts or whatever. And
it only works because the tug of war happened and we had this, big black set where it's just kind of a void.
Sure.
And then a big drop. And then it's almost just that same thing again. That's the consequence, a big drop. There's no other children's games that are interesting that you could have put in?
I don't know. There's so many little elements of it that work. Like, the guy is like, I actually know how to tell what tempered glass and not tempered glass or whatever the fuck glass science shit he knew. But he's like, they're like, why didn't you tell beforehand? You could have saved everyone's lives. He's like, fuck those guys. I'm like, oh man, we're getting to the deep end of this shit. And then, the nice guy who turns out to be the villain pushing him at the end as that final kind of... I thought at that point it was going to be the final bit, but then he slits the other chick's throat, so I guess this is the middle moment of his...
But that chick the chick was doomed.
But that's why it's worse. That's why it's so fucked. It's just like, you're not just going to let the game play out and let her get killed by the game, make the pink staff shoot her, when she loses Squid Game. I don't know. It's like he didn't trust that he could beat her in the game fairly, even though she's bleeding out, that he's going to sneak over to her bed and slit her throat. It's disgusting. It's like, fuck that guy. That's so what a coward. Like, I don't know. And she just saved his life. He didn't know that, but like, she's like, don't do it, main character. You're not that guy. Because you're the hero. But like, I don't know. It just made him so despicable. Because she's probably going to bleed out and die that night anyway. But he was just so unsure of it. What's she going to beat you? Like, you're going to win. Like, you don't have to kill her like that. It's so... I don't know. I know killing them in the game is, like, awful. But killing her like that is just pitiful. It's just disgusting. It's like, ugh. What a shit cunt.
It's a great reveal when we kind of swing back around and see him standing over the bed.
Yeah. Oh, the filmmaking, yeah, exceptional. And that dinner table scene where they've dressed them all up in the suits and they're having the steak and dinner and stuff. So they're all dressed up in suits for the final game was a really nice touch to kind of show us we're in the end game. No more green suits, jumpsuits. It's now beautiful, like, going out for a party suits, which I really liked visually. The visual style and element and just, like, execution of the show, 10 out of 10. The whole way. And the soundtrack. Soundtrack was so good. So good. There's a particularly good soundtrack, and I've Googled it, and it's called Pink Soldiers. Very good.
Lot of good. Mostly good. It's mostly good. Even though it probably sounds like we've been very negative, this is a mostly good show.
I've been I say too much good things sometimes. I just needed to vent. But I really do think there's some elements towards the end that sucked. Like, almost...
Jax, I want to ask you. Yeah. The equation, it's an equation. You felt an emotion of pleasure from watching this show. You felt an emotion of anger watching this show. Which emotion was more powerful on the Jax Richter scale?
Oh, okay. We're going to hit an 8 of enjoyment and a 6.5 from disenjoyment. 3 each for the old man and the VIPs. Okay. Probably more for the VIPs. But the VIPs had me ready to dislike something else, I think. Nice. Without the VIPs, the old man would just be like, oh, that's a shame the show ended like that. But I was primed to be more angry. Because I was like, these VIPs have got me mad, Keiran. They got me mad. What about you? Richter scale, hit me.
I got to say, the process of watching this show, it was almost entirely positive. Nice. And just little niggling things, or just kind of moments or scenes or things that didn't quite work. But also, when you're watching something, you don't really know how to feel about it until it's over. And then when they tell you you're getting a season 2, yet again, you don't quite know how to feel about it. But all we can say is what we got. And of what we got, it's a mostly good mixed bag. It's,
Yeah,
it's a mixed bag with like all your favorite lollies, but there's some glass in there too.
Oh no! Why's the glass in there? Oh my god! It's the Halloween the teachers at the school warned us about.
This should have been the other Squid Game. I don't know. It's not a game. Shit. That's just giving someone a bag of lollies with glass in it. That's not.
That's as much of a children's game as being like, jump on this glass. Maybe it's tempered. Maybe it's not. You'll fall to your death. What the hell is this game, Keiran? What the hell?
My writing is as good as theirs. All right, shall we leave it there?
Yeah, let's do it. Squid Game out. That made no sense. Cut that.
All right, thank you for listening, everyone. Please follow Spoiler Talk on Instagram and TikTok. And you can listen to Jax's other podcast, Two Brothers, One Pilot, where Jax and his brother Tim discuss a different TV show pilot every week and let you know whether it's a yay or nay. Also, our YouTube. We're also a video podcast. If you're listening right now, head on over to YouTube. You can look at our beautiful little studio setup, and you can see our dumb faces during this lockdown. But again, thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.
Catches.
Spoiler Talk is produced by KCBN Studios and Space Kraken Media.